Hey, it's Rick. Welcome back to my channel. Rick Loves Maria. I was thinking about my former career. When I was a computer geek, let me just see if I can lean this up right here real quick. When I was a computer geek years ago, we had this electronic medical record system, and at the time it was called CMHC, like Community Mental Health Center, CMHC. And it was by a company called CMHC, and they were out of Dublin, Ohio. Ironic, isn't it, that now I live in Ohio? I used to come up here for all kinds of training. Well, back in, I don't know, God, the days when I was living in Hickory, North Carolina, Startown, they came out with a UScript product where we could write our own SQL programs, extract the data out of the database, and we could manipulate it however we wanted, run these programs. You could access all kinds of different databases and store the data. Anyway, it was pretty well unlimited for what you could do with it. Now, at the time, our clinical staff wasn't too excited about using the electronic medical record system for notes and treatment plans. I can remember one doctor saying that will be the day that the tail wags the dog. And anyway, he didn't want to use electronic medical records and treatment plans. Nowadays, there's no place that doesn't have that stuff. But what they had for notes back then was like a wise dumb terminal, if you will, just a terminal. At one place, we had an AS400 with a token ring network for financials. And we had a new Ethernet network for PCs. Whoop, sorry about that. Anyway, I was one of the first to put an Ethernet card in the AS400 and add it to the Ethernet network. Suddenly we could access all of the financial stuff through the PCs. And we had this cool software program called Lotus 123 spreadsheet. And in many ways it was better than Excel, because you could do macros with it, little scripts and programs. Anyway, back to the electronic medical record system. In those dumb terminals, you could bring up a screen about your patient, and you had a block of 1,024 characters where you would type your note, and then you would hit save. Now, if you needed more space, you had to go to page 2 and type another 1,024, up to another 1,024 characters, and hit save again. But while you were typing page 2, you couldn't see page 1 to tell what you had written. You had to remember what you had written in page 1, okay? So along comes Microsoft Windows and this browser user environment. And so in the buoy, I wrote this program that read the note and basically listed them, loaded them into an array. And you remember the old arrays we learned in college? Loaded them into an array and displayed them on the screen. And of course, you have to check, for data present and all that stuff when you display it. If there's anything in there, if there's nothing in there. You're just displaying an empty screen. So you let the therapist type in the browser environment. They could see their entire note. They didn't have to flip from one page to the other. You could read what you had previously written. Now, we never let them go back and edit any notes. They always had to do an addendum. But you were able to type a note, and once you got over the 1,024 characters, it just kept scrolling up the screen like it should, like a word processor. And then when you were done typing, I think the limit that I put on that was like 20,000, something like 20,000 characters. We had a few assessments that were pretty big, but then I would load them into the array, check for data present, and save them to the database in the reverse order that they were typed. That way, when you pull it up and display it, you could read it, and it was easy to just display in the correct order. So I'm the guy who took the electronic medical records from the old dumb terminals to the browser. And I'm the guy that wrote the program to make the notes happen. That was my claim to fame. I don't know if that was 20 years ago. Anyway, the other cool thing that I did, we had one agency that was about to go out of business. They had screwed up their data. Somehow they'd saved the data in the wrong fields. And when I say data, I'm talking about they had their NPI number, their Medicaid ID, and their taxonomy numbers. Each claim has these unique three numbers. The taxonomy number is similar. It's not a procedure, but it's something similar to like a certain category of procedure. And then the Medicaid ID, of course, is client specific. And so anyway, I found when I got on this job that they had not been able to bill about $2 million, and they were going to go bankrupt. They were going to go under in a couple of months. So I had a couple of months deadline to get this straightened out, and I ended up writing a script that would read the data that was in the field, and determining whether it or not it had alphanumeric characters on the beginning or the end, and what they were. I could kind of identify what type of number that was. And then I could store it in a temporary field and then move on and check the next one. And once I had all three, I could go back and save those to the correct place. You know what I mean? And because you didn't want to overwrite the data unless you were sure that you had the correct three saved in the correct place. It was critical not to erase the data, and not to lose it. And so I managed to fix the data with a U script that I wrote, and consequently, within the next 2 months, they were able to get their $2 million worth of billing done. Did I ever get a bonus for that? Did I ever get a thank you for that? No, I didn't. At one place, I ran fiber optic cable down the railroad tracks in a conduit about 300 yards and connected the bakery to the main office, So instantly in the main office, they could tell how many tons of flour they had used that week, and get their purchasing just right, their inventory. Um, I moved one agency, a fastener distributor. I moved them from one facility down in, I don't know, north of Charlotte, down there. I moved them up to Newton Conover, North Carolina, with zero downtime on my weekend, zero downtime for their customers. I was promised a $1,500 bonus for that. I never received that either. Companies just don't appreciate their IT staff and what we do. What I did, I never really felt appreciated for. One agency I worked for, they had a process that um it took all week long to run this process and take all the data into Excel and manipulate the graphs, to show the trends and everything. And through UScript, I was able to get that down to like a day and a half, that same process, before I had that Excel spreadsheet. So, you know, I wasn't thanked for that either. In fact, once the pandemic hit, they told me they didn't need me anymore. So that was when I decided to change careers. But I did IT for 30 years. I started out running Ethernet cable wires, crimping the ends on, setting up literally an Ethernet plug underneath each desk, and creating an Ethernet network, setting up the rack with the switches, hubs, all that stuff that you had to have. You had to have your internet. You had to have your what was it called? You had to have your protection. You know, uh, so I went from uh, let's see, we had RISC 6000 servers. Um, I was specialized in the RISC 6000 stuff, and back in the day, we had our own data on our own server, and then they wanted to put everything through the network and let the the vendor store the data. Well, I wasn't too excited about that. You know, security was a main concern. So anyway, I'm no longer doing IT. It's such a pain to keep up with the latest and greatest in IT and Windows and stuff, and how often everything changes. It's a pain to set up the Active Directory and everything, and keep track of all that. Who You have to write programs to track who hasn't used who hasn't logged in, in the past 60 days or whatever, and deactivate people who aren't using their login and find out why. Anyway, it's just IT was always stressful. There was always somebody looking over my shoulder, questioning everything that I did. I wrote all the procedures, policies, and everything in order for them to meet their JACO um, qualifications, that they had to meet and stuff like that, and checking the backups, and actually restoring files from the backup to make sure that it would actually work. I just never got the appreciation I feel like that I deserved. Yeah, I made a living out of it. You know, at one time I was making about 60, couple $1,000 a year at it, and it was okay. You know, it, it no longer seemed fun there towards the end. So, um, sometimes I miss some aspects of it. I had some friendly people working with me. Um, it just felt like management didn't didn't always trust me because it just seemed like I never got appreciation and complete trust from the management. So anyway, that was the IT career. Now I feel a lot less stress. I know that seems weird to say, but I'm driving around in a large, heavy vehicle. It's dangerous. It's the most dangerous job, one of the most dangerous jobs you can do. And that makes me nervous, but I don't feel stressed like I did doing IT. It's a different kind of stress. All right. Just thought I'd reminisce about the old IT days. I don't know what's happened to that software now. That CMHC. I don't even think it's around anymore. I think somebody bought them out of Wichita, Kansas, and I don't know who it was, but I don't think that they're in business anymore. I think they got bought out by somebody and they just switched to something else now. I don't know of any agencies that are still using that. And all the scripts that I wrote, I had all kinds of scripts that I had given away to other hundreds of other agencies throughout the country. I shared I shared all my programs and scripts with other agencies. It gave it away for free. And now I don't think anybody in the country is using it anymore. All right. Y'all stay safe. Uh, I'll let you know when spring gets here. See you. Bye.